Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Spring is a great time to plant a tree. Today we're planting a ball and burlap Japanese umbrella pine. Also, we'll be planting a rose bush. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Dale Skaggs. Dale is the Director of Horticulture at the Dixon Gallery and Gardens, and Bill Dickerson will be joining me later. Hi, Dale. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Man, well, look, we're out at the beautiful Dixon Gallery and Gardens, and thank you so much for being here today. So what are we going to do?
Well, we're going to look at planting this Japanese umbrella pine, and it's not a true pine. It's kind of rare for this part of the world, but they do really well. They're slow growing. But we're going to plant a balled and burlap version of this. So
It's gonna be good.
just to show you how to treat a balled and burlap planting. And we're starting out here with some pretty good Dixon soil.
Okay.
It's recently been weeded and mulched, so we're good to go.
Okay.
And
All right,
Kyle
so we got,
McLean.
Kyle is going to help us out today. Thank you for being here, Kyle.
Glad to be here.
All right, so how would you like to
Kyle
get
is the
started?
manager of grounds horticulture here at the Dixon, so
Okay.
we've got the all-star team here planting
Oh,
today.
we're ready to go.
All right.
This is going to be real neat. Looking forward to it.
All
So
right.
we've chosen this spot and we're just going to pull the mulch back.
How's that ground,
good
Dale?
rich, that good rich Dixon
Good.
soil right there.
Okay.
So we're going to try to dig. We don't want to go too deep, but we can go wide. So
Okay.
we'll do it about twice the width of what the root ball is.
So better to go wide than too deep. Got it.
Yeah, too deep. We're going to set it on some harder ground. All right, we'll use our spade to measure. About to there. We want it a little high, dig a little deeper. This particular plant, and a lot of plants, don't like our heavy clay soil, and so planting them high, it has drainage. You want the crown to be high and it to slope away. You don't want water going into don't want it planted in a hole. I think we're about ready to go in. All right, so when you're handling a balled and burlap tree, you always want to handle it from the ball. You don't want to handle it from the top, and you want to be careful not to break the ball up.
All right.
So we're gonna go easy over into the hole.
Okay.
And then we want to look, step back and look. I think this side is better. Chris, what do you think? I think this is the face.
Yeah, I think I do agree.
Okay,
with that.
so
I
we're
do.
gonna turn this
Turn around.
thing.
A bit more.
Hey.
How does that look? All right. Just shift it over that way just a little bit.
My way.
Yes. Okay. Now, first thing we'll do is get some dirt under it to make sure it's plumb straight. So, how's that? There we go. How's that?
Still leaning a
Still
little bit.
leans?
Yeah, leaning a little bit. Yeah.
Let's see how it does. Is that better, Kyle?
It is. It's good.
All right. So sometimes you'll see this synthetic rope that they use, and that does not biodegrade. It takes a long time for
Right.
that to break down. It's got plastics in it.
Right.
So if you have this, you definitely want to get all of that off of the root ball.
Okay.
But this has jute twine, and so it will decompose, but we still want to pull the burlap away from the base of the tree and
Right.
tuck it down into the hole. So Kyle is going to cut the rope there and peel that back.
The burlap is there to hold the soil onto the roots and not let it fall off. Some, when they get larger, you're going to have a wire basket, and you want to leave that on until you get it in the hole and some soil around it, because you don't want it to fall away from the roots. So we've got this in here, and we'll add a little bit of, we're going to add some amendments.
For our amendments, you can use soil conditioner. We actually use just the pine bark. This is a little bit composted, but it really aerates it. And if you think about most of the nursery stock that's grown in containers, they're growing it in bark. So it's a really good soil amendment. It is slightly acidic. If you're planting something that likes alkaline, you might want to add some lime. That's not the case here. This is a pretty adaptable tree. And then we add red sand. And the red sand has different sized particles in it. If you use white sand, that's mason sand, and you mix clay and mason sand and you get concrete.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it's red sand if you're incorporating sand into the mix. And then we go with something that's, this is some composted cow manure. It has some nutrients to it. And this is kind of the cat's meow here. This is the, this is worm casings, worm castings.
Ah, okay.
It starts out as peat moss. It just has a lot of humic acid, and then it has a lot of enzymes. And then Kyle likes to add some mycorrhizae to it as well.
This
So
is
we're giving it every
a
chance we can.
plant starter that has beneficial bacteria and mycorrhiza.
Right.
The mycorrhiza is a fungi that attaches to the roots of the plant and helps the plant take up more nutrients and more water.
I think you got a generous helping of that on there. So what we'll do now is we'll come and we'll kind of mix this all together. We don't want to just put this directly in the hole. We want to mix and amalgamate all this stuff together and then put it in the hole. So we'll mix this in with the native soil and then fill it. You don't want big pockets of just the mix in there. You want to mix it to where you have sand, bark, and the native soil all mixed together. But yeah, we want to kind of mix all this together even when I'm turning it into there. And like I said, this is pine bark, so I'm not worried about the mulch getting in there
Yeah.
at all, because we're using composted pine bark, you may recall. So, air pockets are always a thing. You want to make sure you don't have air pockets. When you discover those in the heat of the summer, your plant will probably be dead if you leave an air pocket in there. So we want to tamp that down. Plus, and this is a smaller plant. You really don't need to stake this. And I think staking we kind of only do when it's necessary, because it's extra work, it's ugly, and it's
ugly.
you know. But
You can either tuck the burlap down or you can actually cut it out. We're just going to tuck it down.
Okay, so you don't cut it out.
and
But
we'll
you can
rake
cut
the
it
mulch
out as
around
well.
it.
All right. And just kind of go over top of it. Oh, so this is existing mulch.
That's why we pull the mulch back
Right,
to kind
got
of keep it clean.
So what about the first watering?
The first watering, you will do it really thoroughly. Even if you have an irrigation system, get a hose out there.
Get a hose.
with a water breaker on it. You can use your thumb, but go ahead and invest a few dollars in a water breaker, right? And just
yeah, why
give it
not?
a real good drenching all the way around. And when you think you got enough water on it, water it again.
Right.
And so you want that first watering to be very thorough. Again, you're settling out air pockets.
Yeah.
And then planting something like this, you're going to want to give it. If you don't get an inch of rainfall in a week, you're going to want to give it an inch of rainfall or so. But you'll want to watch it and see if it needs a little bit more water than that. Okay. In the heat of the summer is the first year. Yeah. Once you get through that first summer, you're in good shape.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a really special tree. I'm really proud to add this to our living collections.
Well, that'll be good. Well, Dale, Kyle, thank you so much. We appreciate that demonstration.
All right.
Looks like y'all done this before, right? Y'all done it before?
Many times.
Yeah,
Well, you
many
going to come
times.
back and visit the tree?
Oh, of course we are. We'll
All
come
right.
back and visit it. Of course we are.
So one of the things we like to use at the Dixon are organic fertilizers. This particular one has not only slow release fertilizers in it, it also has mycorrhiza fungi, which is a beneficial fungi that attaches to the root of the plant and allows the plant to take up more nutrients and more water than it normally would. Mycorrhiza is a fungi that is found all over the world. If you go out in the woods and dig in the soil, you're probably going to find some of that fungi. There's also beneficial bacteria in this, so you're actually feeding the microbes that are in the soil.
Hi, Mr. Bill. We're planting roses, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, what do we need to know?
Well, the first thing, I recommend going to a local nursery.
Okay.
and you'll get a potted plant. And they're just the newest plants that are out. They're more vigorous than the old plants. They're more money. But for an example, if you go to the box stores, you'll get a plant that the patent ran out in '65.
Okay.
When I picked these out, there was only 2 roses out of 40 that I'd ever heard of.
Wow.
And I take care of a lot of roses. And so I wanted to show just the difference between, this is a bare root rose, and when you open it up, it's just got a little bit of dirt and it's just roses.
Roots. Okay.
So you have to, there's a little more special care, and then it'll grow, but you're just starting off with a much better rose.
Gotcha.
And a current rose.
Okay.
Now, when you're looking for roses, a #1 cane has at least 3 nice sized canes. This is about as good a rose as you can get as far as the canes. If you'll notice, it's got the bowl shape in the middle, which you want for air ventilation. And It cuts down on funguses and disease. This rose is fine. You don't see many that's just this ideal.
Yeah, this is perfect almost, right?
It is. I mean, it's just perfect. This is a Mr. Lincoln, which is an older rose, and you'll find them like these ones in the box stores, but it's a great rose and it's got great fragrance. So when I dig a hole, you want a good hole. You want the graft to be ground level or above. So you can raise a little bit up, and I mean, this rose is grafted as a vigorous rootstock underneath this little ball, and the top is red rose, yellow rose. The rootstock itself it's just a little red, rose rugosa, a little red, almost like a wild rose will have 5 petals versus a big 40-petal yellow rose.
Okay. So the graft needs to be above the ground.
Above the ground.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I dig a hole. I've got room to add amendments. Now what I typically do, these were bare root roses similar to this into January, depending on when the suppliers get them. So they don't recommend planting them till about into April, 1st of May. Because those roots are just starting to come out.
Okay.
Now, what I do is I cut the bottom
Oh, look at that.
of the rose out. And then when I stick it in the ground, it's not going to disturb and tear up all those roots.
Gotcha. How about that?
So the next step, depending on your soil type, you want to add some amendments, and you want the rose to grow out. They only grow about 1 foot deep, but they grow out more at the
spread
top
out.
than
Gotcha.
down. I'm going to put a little gravel. You can use pea gravel or whatever.
So tell us what the gravel is for.
Well, the gravel, rose don't like wet feet. They don't like to sit in. I've started to hit a little hard clay at the bottom, but that'll get those roots off of the bottom, and they'll grow through that.
Okay.
But the gravel will kind of keep the drainage down and the water will settle to the bottom.
Gotcha.
Here, I'm gonna add a little, any kind of garden soil from a nursery. If you got composted stuff, that's great, leaves, whatever, but they like loose soil and those roots will grow and give it a big head start.
Gotcha.
Now, that's about where I want it.
Okay.
So what I'll do, first off, I've got a product, it's a fairly new product, that's got feathers in it, it's got kelp, it's got worm casings.
Which is good
So it's
stuff.
got a lot of the micronutrients, plus it's got some slow release that'll help feed that plant as you go along.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna add, another thing that I use a lot of is good old Epsom salt. Magnesium sulfate, it's a wonder drug like aspirin. I mean, it's great stuff for tomatoes, roses, almost anything that you want to plant.
So just a good handful for a site like
Yeah.
this, or two. Right?
You know, I put a couple handfuls. That's probably about a half a cup.
Okay.
On established roses, I put about a cup in the spring. It gets basal breaks, which is a new cane will start from the root graft.
Okay.
All right. Then I'm on to add a little more. Of course, it's mighty wet out here, and it has been for a while. So I'm putting a little soil in here
Okay.
so that I can pull the bottom out.
Good cut. How about that?
I can pull the bottom out, and I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna start at the bottom and cut about halfway up. Then I spread the soil around. And about halfway, I'll probably add just a few more
A little bit more.
amendments. Bone meal, any of your organics is just going to kind of feed those roots when they come out.
Sure.
Phosphorus, superphosphate, bone meal is really good. And I'm going to add a little more soil.
Okay.
We'll tap her down a little bit. Bring my cut up some more. I'm almost through it. Now normally I would get some more of the dirt that came out of the hole, and I'd mix some of that with it.
Okay.
Then when I get it planted, the bottom's already out,
Right.
and this is kind of packed in. Well, then I can just gently
How about that?
pull this off, and it does not disturb the roots.
Yeah.
Because at this point in time, coming from the nursery, they're just a little tiny, it's about like grass. They're just
Okay.
little, and if you just turn it, now later on in about 2 months, you can take that pot, turn it upside down, and it just comes out and it's almost root bound, but not quite. But now if it falls off, you just knocked the 3 or 4 weeks worth of root growth. You've just kind of taken that away. Then I pretty much fill this full of soil. If you've got pots that something died in,
So you can use some of that soil. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
it's, you know, it's good, and then you've got a pot that you can do something else with. And I like to say that this was filled up to about to the top of the ground line. At that point, I would
Go ahead and mulch it.
add mulch on the top, which is going to break down. It's going to keep the plant, keep the weeds out. And I'll actually build this up a little high. If it didn't have this new growth on it, I would almost cover it up.
Wow. Okay.
Just to
With the
hold
mulch, you just cover it up.
covered up with the mulch, especially with the bare roots. You cover it up with the bare roots, and then as it starts sprouting up, you take the hose and you just wash it down.
Sure.
And by end of May, starting of June, you can just take a hose and wash it away, and it's settled in.
So let me ask you this: so the mulch is not going to bother it, right? Because we usually tell people don't, pile your mulch up against your stems, right, or against your trunk. So that's not a problem.
Now at this point,
Okay.
I'm going to break it back down.
Gotcha. Okay.
So this is just to keep that plant moist.
Keep it okay.
Because it doesn't have many roots.
Right.
So it's just all cylinders are going. New roots, new canes will come out of these, and they just need that. Of course, we got plenty of moisture now. It's just, we all know that.
Right.
It's just ridiculously wet. And then at the end, I'll just pull this back down
Gotcha.
and almost ground level.
Okay.
And that'll keep weeds out, and then you're fertilizing it. And then I would probably go with a little more top dressing.
Okay.
If it's dry, you'd water this in and get all the air pockets out. But right now, I'm sure we'll get rain the next day or two, and that'll just kind of do it. Then I kind of mash the whole thing down, and that'll compress it.
Wow.
And that's just pretty much. Now, another important thing is these look pretty good. But where this cane's coming out, nothing's going to grow above that.
Okay. So you just nip that off.
I'll just cut that off. Right here, you got this little small cane that I don't know why they left. And there's nothing coming out of this, but I can see a break down here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take that off.
Okay.
And then if this thing starts dying back, if it starts getting brown, I mean, it'll get a little brown and it'll harden off. Mother Nature likes you to do it 1/4 of an inch. But if it starts getting a little brown, all you've got to do is just come over and take a little bit off. See, there's a little brown in there.
Yeah.
And you just want white pit.
Gotcha.
You want, and it doesn't hurt the plant.
Okay. I see it.
And then just keep it watered.
Then from there it'll be okay. Huh?
And then you're good to go.
And Mr. Bill, we definitely appreciate that demonstration.
Thank
I think
you,
you've
sir.
done this a time or two, right?
I have indeed.
Tulips in zone 7, 8 usually do not last in the ground through the summer, especially if their soils are really tight like ours are here. They sometimes rot in the ground. So we dig them up and treat them as annuals. And this is the same concept you can use for any bulb that you want to move somewhere else. You take a trowel, move dirt out of the way, and dig down as far as you can to hopefully gather the bottom of that bulb and pull it up. And then you can transplant this to some other place or put it in the compost pile.
All right, here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
These are great questions. All right, here's our first viewer email. How do I eliminate Canadian thistle? Martin from Edison, New Jersey. He says, even with digging and spraying, it still comes back, Kyle. So what do you think about that? Canadian thistle is tough.
It is very tough to get rid of. I think a lot of diligence. You just have to stay on it, both with digging and spraying. I think you can do a glove method where you put a glove on and dip your hand into whatever chemical and wipe the plant down instead of spraying. But it is very tough to get rid of.
I think it has that long tap root
Has a
that goes
long
down
tap
into the
root.
ground, and so
That's
you
exactly.
pull it and you leave a piece behind, and lo and behold, what happens? It comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to reproduce. By the root fragments, seeds. Of course, it's a perennial weed. You see it out when pastures, road ditches, and things like that. It can be definitely tough.
The problem is
control.
it's not fun to pull either.
No, because it has the little spines on the leaves, right? It has the spines on the leaves. So yeah, you have to be diligent, Martin. Yeah, I would keep cutting it back. Don't let it go. Set seed. So I would cut it back, mow it, Probably maybe use a herbicide. Something glyphosate, triclopyr, something like that. Read and follow the label. It may help slow it down. It may help. So there you have it, Martin. Good luck. All right, here's our next viewer email. What are these black patches in my lawn? This is Deborah from Knoxville, Tennessee. She wants a simple and natural way to get rid of it, Kyle. So you and I had a little discussion about this earlier. So what do you think about that?
So it's probably brown patch, I'm thinking, and it's a water mold fungus that gets on the grass. I think the first thing is cultural. Make sure that you have good drainage and add in some organic matter to help with that. And there are some biological ways that you can treat that without using chemicals to control it.
Okay.
What kind of grass do you think they're growing in Knoxville?
Probably fescue. Would come to mind.
Perennial ryegrass, maybe?
Yeah, maybe some rye. There's probably a little Bermuda zoysia, but yeah, we don't know what kind of grass she was growing, but I know they do grow a lot of fescue up that way. Maybe some rye.
Well, I don't have a lot of comments about that because you two guys are turf grass experts.
Cultural practices though. Yeah, cultural practices is the first thing I'll talk about before I even start mentioning a chemical. So yeah, fertilizing according to your soil test. Improve your drainage.
Yeah. Would watering be I mean, on a lot of plants that we have fungal issues here, we control the watering, do it early in the morning so it has a chance to dry out instead of watering in the evening. Is that?
Yeah, that's something you can do as well. Yeah, and then of course if you have compact soils, you want to look at that. Aeration, can help out with that as well. But all of that would be good there, and I think that would work. So Miss Deborah, go to your local extension office there in Knox County. They'll be sure to help you out. All right. Thank you for that question. All right, here's our next viewer email. Can I cut back large Japanese maples without harming them? And this is Carla from Richwood, West Virginia. So Dale.
Yeah, I don't know that I would rejuvenation prune. I would probably take it down over time.
Okay.
And I would take it down, you know, maybe getting a third of where you want it, and then the next year take more out and kind of work it down slowly. I wouldn't do it all at once. And you certainly don't want to cut anything, even if it's sprouting at the bottom, you know, that's below the graft, because most Japanese maples are grafted. But yeah, I wouldn't, you know, you're not going to have the growth that follows on a Japanese maple, unless it's grown on its own roots. And there are some, like Glowing Embers and a few others, that grow on their own roots, and those you can be a little bit more vigilant about cutting back. But I would caution you not to get too crazy with that in one setting.
Okay. And
Do it over time.
Yeah, and she did mention that you know, she wanted to reduce the size, and she lives at an elevation of 2,300 feet. So does that differ, you know, anyway from what you were saying? Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you don't think so? Anything you want to add to that, Kyle?
I just do it when it's dormant, and you know, do some thinning on it, and then, as Dale said, take a third off, and the next year you could take another third, and then the third year, and then you've got it down to more of what you want, and you're not taking too much off of it.
Okay.
But because maples have opposite leaves, so that they sort of fork on you, and so they show you where to cut them. Really, it kind of it's easy to follow where to cut them.
So they show you. You like that? There you go. So there you go, Miss Carla. They show you. All right. All right. So Dale, Kyle, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is questions@familyplotgarden.com, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about planting shrubs or planting rose bushes, head on over to familyplotgarden.com. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.